Hello, in this problem we're going to examine how to compute a confidence interval with Statcrunch. So the first thing I want to do is I've got some data here. This is paired data, and I'm going to click on the little rectangle to copy this data into Statcrunch. Okay. Now, with this problem, the first thing we're asked to do is to compute the mean of the differences. So simply, I want to create a new column. I'm going to label it differences, or D. And then in each row, I'm just going to subtract these numbers. So 3 minus 2 is 1. That's the difference of those two numbers. 9 minus 9 is 0, and so forth. Okay, and now we could compute the mean of those differences. So if we go down here to summary statistics for a particular column, I'm going to choose column being differences. And let's compute. So we get the mean is 2 and also the variance is 2. Okay, so let's go over here. The mean of the differences is 2, and we found out that the variance was 2. And now it says if mu1 and mu2 are the means of population 1 and 2 respectively, express the mean of the differences, mu sub d. And so mu sub d would just be the difference of mu1 and mu2. Okay, so now we get to the real exciting part of this problem, which is to form a 99% confidence interval. So I'm going to go back to Statcrunch, and I'm going to close that summary stat there. And we're going to go to statistics, and we're going to go to Ttest, and we've got paired data. And sample 1 is in the column labeled sample 1, and sample 2 is in the column labeled sample 2. And other things we're going to do a confidence interval. So I'm going to click on that radio button there. You could also use a hypothesis test if you actually want to compute the t-test. We'll do that later. But for the confidence interval, we're supposed to do a 99% confidence interval. So I'll click on 0.99 and compute. And over here we get the left-hand limit, or the lower limit of our confidence interval, and the upper limit. So if we round to 2 decimal places, we're looking at a negative 0.33, and our upper limit being a 4.33. So let's put those values in. So that worked out nicely, and now we want to do our t-test, so we can go back to Statcrunch for that as well. I'm going to close this window. Stats, t-stats, we've got paired data. Again, we'll select our samples, and we're going to perform a hypothesis test. Our null hypothesis is that the mean of the differences is 0. Great, and here we have a t-statistic of 3.464, etc., and we're supposed to round at 2 decimal places, so we'll call that a 3.46. And our p-value is a 0.018, and I think we're supposed to round that to 3 decimal places, so that looks good. Let's go back over here. So t-value was 3.46. And now the p-value was 0.018. So that looks good. Okay, so now we need to make a decision about the conclusion. And here we've set alpha equal to 0.01. Since our p-value is bigger, we are not going to reject the null hypothesis. So I'm going to look at either answer choice A or answer choice D. Okay, so let's look at answer choice A for a minute. Do not reject the null hypothesis. Okay, that's something we're going to do. We're not going to reject the null hypothesis. And this would not be correct. We don't know about evidence regarding mu sub d not equal to 0. All we know is that there's insufficient evidence to indicate that the mean is not 0. You know, it's like It's like this. You might have someone on trial for a criminal case, and you could find enough evidence to convict them guilty, or you might say there's not enough evidence yet to convict them of guilty. And that's kind of the idea with this null hypothesis. So, we're not going to reject the null hypothesis. We don't have enough evidence yet. We might have enough evidence later on, but right now there's not enough evidence to indicate that the mean is anything other than 0.